why he's really texting you now? Watch this. Let me ask you a question. Why now? Why is he texting now, after silence, after distance, after disappearing? You see, texts like this don't come from nowhere. They're a trigger, a pull, a reaction. And more often than not, they're not about you, they're about him. He's not texting because he suddenly remembered how amazing you are. He always knew. He's texting because you stopped reminding him. You stopped chasing. You stopped filling in the blanks for him. Now his world has a silence that used to be filled by your energy, your messages, your love. And guess what? That silence is loud. He reaches out. Hey, miss you. Just thinking about you. Harmless? No. Random? Not at all. It's calculated, even if subconsciously. He wants to see if you're still there, if you'll still reply, if he can get back that free comfort without doing the work. But the question isn't why he's texting you now. The real question is, what do you want? Do you want breadcrumbs or a whole meal? Because if you respond like nothing happened, you tell him he never lost you. And people don't value what they think they can never lose. Don't confuse a message for a change. Don't confuse a miss you for a commitment. And don't ever confuse someone's curiosity with love. Let him feel your absence like you once felt his. Not to hurt him, but to honor yourself. When a man texts you out of the blue, especially after a period of silence or distance, the first instinct is often to feel flattered, curious, or even hopeful. But let's take a step back and look at what's really going on. His message isn't always about reconnecting with you in a meaningful way. It's often about what's happening inside him. This kind of reach out is rarely the result of a deep internal shift or some romantic realization. Instead, it's a reaction rooted in self-interest, ego, or emotional habit. When someone who was distant suddenly shows up with a casual "hey" or "miss you," it's important to question the timing and the motivation. Why now? What changed? Most of the time, nothing changed on your end. What changed is that you're no longer providing what you used to. Your energy, your availability, your constant emotional presence. He notices your absence, not because he necessarily wants to rebuild something real, but because he's not used to that gap. That quietness in his life wasn't there before, and it's uncomfortable for him. His ego may be bruised by your silence. He might be feeling lonely, rejected elsewhere, or simply bored. The point is, the message is a reaction to your lack of reaction. It's not born from a genuine desire to reconnect on a deeper level or to suddenly meet your emotional need. It's about checking if he still holds a certain power or influence in your life. If he sends a text and you reply enthusiastically, that tells him he still matters to you. That validation can feel like control to him, and that control is comforting, even if he has no intention of doing anything serious with it. You have to understand that many people operate from a place of emotional selfishness. When they feel an emotional itch, they reach out. Not because they want to meet your needs, but because they want to soothe their own. The message may be short, vague, or seemingly sweet, but it's not always built on sincerity. It's often a temporary relief for them, not the beginning of meaningful change. So if you mistake his curiosity or momentary attention for a genuine shift, you risk falling back into an old cycle. This is why it's important to read between the lines and recognize that his message is far more about his internal world than your shared history. Don't make it about something romantic when it's often about convenience. Texts like these tend to come when you've pulled away and started reclaiming your power. That shift in you triggers insecurity in him, and that insecurity motivates action. Not love, not commitment, not clarity. So before you respond with hope, pause and ask yourself, is this about me or is this about him? Because the truth is, in most cases, he's not texting you because he realized your worth. He's texting because you stopped reminding him of it. When someone reaches out after a long silence, it's tempting to believe they're missing you, your laugh, your energy, your connection. But often, what they truly miss isn't you as a person. It's the feeling they got from the attention you used to give them. There's a big difference between someone missing you and someone missing what you did for them. This distinction matters because if you mistake one for the other, you risk falling into the same emotional trap again. Think about how much time and energy you might have invested in that person. The thoughtful messages, the availability, the emotional support, the way you were always ready to respond. All of that creates a comfort zone for them. That effort becomes a safety net they learn to rely on, even if they didn't fully appreciate it when they had it. So when that attention stops, it's not necessarily you they crave, it's the void they now feel in their life where your constant validation used to be. This is why you might get a text like, "miss you," or "thinking about you," at the most random times. It's not always because they had a sudden emotional revelation. It might be because they're having a dull night, they're feeling lonely, or something reminded them of the ease and warmth your presence used to bring. But missing how someone made you feel is not the same as wanting to truly reconnect with them. It's not about building something meaningful. It's about reaccessing something that once made them feel good. This kind of behavior is emotionally convenient. Instead of doing the work to build a real connection or take accountability for how they acted, they test the waters with a vague message. Why? Because it's low effort and low risk. If you respond warmly, they get their emotional fix. If you don't, they can easily retreat and pretend they were just being friendly. It gives them a way to see if the door is still open without committing to walking through it. But what you need to understand is that people often seek comfort more than connection. They miss attention more than they miss people. And if you were someone who offered consistent attention, warmth, and emotional investment, then of course your absence will be felt. But it's not a compliment if what they miss is your energy while they never truly valued you. This is why it's so powerful to stop pouring into someone who only ever drinks from your cup without offering anything back. When you take your energy away, you force them to realize whether they valued you or just the benefit of having you around. And most of the time, their text is them reacting to that empty space. Not because they want to fill it with effort and love, but because they want the comfort back. That's not love. That's habit. That's ego. So be careful. Don't let someone who misses your attention trick you into thinking they're ready to give you theirs. When someone sends you a simple message like "hey" or "thinking of you," it can stir a lot of emotions, especially if that message comes after a long silence. But it's critical to understand what that message actually is. Not a romantic breakthrough, not a turning point in the relationship, but a subtle test. It's a low investment move with one purpose: to gauge your reaction. That single message is often a way of checking if the emotional door they once had access to is still open. They want to know, can I still get a response from you? This test isn't always conscious. The person may not be sitting there scheming with manipulative intent. Sometimes it's just emotional muscle memory. They're used to having you respond, having you care, and having you there when they needed a boost. So when they feel low, lonely, bored, or uncertain, the easiest thing to do is to reach out to someone who made them feel important in the past. That's why they send a text without substance. It's vague on purpose, because it allows them to protect their pride while still trying to access connection. You see, effort says a lot about intention. A person who's serious about reconnecting doesn't just send a one-word message. In contrast, someone who's testing you doesn't bother with that level of thoughtfulness. They don't ask how you are or how you've been. They drop a breadcrumb, just enough to see if you'll chase. This breadcrumb approach is meant to elicit a reaction. If you respond quickly and warmly, they get confirmation. Yes, I still have access. That gives them a sense of control. They didn't have to apologize, explain, or change. They just sent a casual message and still got your emotional attention. But what does that teach them? That they don't need to do more. That you're still there, ready to pick up where things left off, no matter how they treated you. That's why responding to a test like this can be more dangerous than it seems. Because the moment you reply, you signal that your boundary was never real, that your silence was temporary, not intense. And the moment someone knows they can come back without effort, they stop trying altogether. They'll keep dropping crumbs, knowing you'll show up hungry. It's up to you to decide whether to engage. Not every message deserves a reply, especially when it's clearly a test, not a sincere gesture. You have to be aware of the pattern. Disappear, reach out with a vague text, receive validation, disappear again. Don't fall into it. If someone really wants to be in your life, they'll do more than just test the waters. They'll dive in. So when you get that late night hey, remember, it's not a change, it's a test. And how you respond determines what happens next. When someone realizes they might be losing access to you, that's when they often start to act like they care. The truth is, people don't usually value what they believe is guaranteed. If you've always been there, available, responsive, emotionally present, then that becomes their norm. They assume you'll always pick up, always reply, always be emotionally invested. But once that changes, once you pull back and stop being so available, that's when the dynamic shifts, and that's when they start to notice. This shift creates discomfort in them. It introduces doubt. Suddenly, they're not so sure of where they stand with you. That emotional safety net you used to provide has been removed, and now they feel the absence. It makes them question, did I lose her? Why is she not responding like before? Has she moved on? That uncertainty fuels curiosity, and often it provokes a reaction. It might come in the form of a sudden message, a random like on your social media post, or a half-hearted attempt to re-enter your life. But that action isn't necessarily about rebuilding something real. It's about regaining the comfort of knowing they still have access to you. The problem is, many people don't take action until they feel a loss. When you were consistently there, your presence wasn't something they had to work for. It was effortless for them, but draining for you. And as long as you continued to give without boundaries, they had no reason to step up. But the moment you became scarce, they began to realize they could no longer take your presence for granted. That's when your value started to become visible, not because you became more valuable, but because they were finally forced to see it. However, it's important not to confuse their reaction to loss with genuine growth. Just because someone reaches out doesn't mean they're ready to be better, to offer more, or to meet your standards. Many times, they're just reacting to a feeling of insecurity. They want to feel important again. They want to make sure they're still on your radar. It's not love, it's fear of losing control. And if you immediately reward that fear with your attention, you teach them that all they have to do is disappear and return in order to get your energy back. This is why it's essential to stand firm in your boundaries. When you distance yourself, it's not a punishment. It's a reflection of your self-respect. It's you saying, I'm no longer available for one-sided effort. And that stance will naturally create resistance in the other person. They'll try to regain control, test your resolve, see if you're serious. But don't be fooled. If they didn't value your presence when they had it freely, you have to question what they're really responding to now. Because true value is only recognized when it's respected, not just when it's missed. The value is when I don't take anyway, because I don't want your value when the second's respected. Not just when it's respected. Not just how you respond to someone's minimal effort tells them everything they need to know about your standards. If someone can disappear for weeks or months, send a short hey, and immediately get a warm, open reply from you, they quickly learn that you're still emotionally available, no matter how they treated you. And when people learn that, they don't feel the need to try harder. Your response is your message. It teaches them the level of effort you're willing to accept, and it sets the tone for every interaction going forward. Every time you respond to a breadcrumb, those vague, low-effort texts or occasional flirty messages, you're silently telling them that access to you doesn't require effort, consistency, or respect. You may not realize it in the moment, but by replying, you're showing them they still have space in your life, regardless of how little they give. That access, even if it seems harmless, becomes something they can fall back on whenever it suits them. It's a comfort zone for them. It allows them to feel emotionally connected to you without having to offer real commitment or vulnerability in return. And the truth is, people will give you only as much as they think they need to. If you make it easy for someone to come back into your life without any explanation, accountability, or change, they won't feel the urgency to do better. Why would they? You've shown them that the door never really closed. That's why boundaries are not just about protecting your space, they're about setting the tone for how people treat you. If you require more, people will either rise to meet you or fall away. And either result is a win, because you're no longer accepting less than what you deserve. Does their message match the weight of their past behavior? Is it enough to justify a place in your emotional world again? Or is it just a repeat of old patterns, dressed up as something new? It's not about playing games or being cold, it's about being aware. When someone truly values you, their actions will reflect that consistently, not just when they feel your absence. They'll show up without needing to be prompted, without sending vague texts, hoping to spark a reaction. They'll make it clear with effort, communication, and follow through. So the next time someone pops up with a weak attempt to re-enter your life, take a breath before responding. Ask yourself if their message aligns with what you expect and deserve, because your response doesn't just answer them, it reinforces the message you're sending to yourself about what kind of love, effort, and respect you're willing to accept. Thank you.